The road to success is not paved with comfort, certainty, or perfection. It is paved with failure. It is built on rejection, setbacks, and disappointment. And yet, some people run from failure. They see it as a stop sign, a reason to give up, an excuse to settle for less. But let me tell you something. Failure is not the end. It's the beginning. You see, every person who has ever accomplished anything great has failed. Not once, not twice, but over and over again. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent, it isn't luck. It's the ability to take failure and turn it into fuel, to use every setback as a stepping stone, every rejection as redirection, and every disappointment as motivation to push harder, to go further, to become better. Failure is often seen as something to be avoided, something to be feared, something that marks the end of a journey. But in reality, failure is not the end, it's the beginning. It is the starting point of learning, growth, and transformation. The people who reach the greatest heights in life are not the ones who never fail, but the ones who refuse to let failure stop them. They see it as part of the process, as a necessary step towards success. Every major success story is built on a foundation of failures. The world's most successful people have failed more times than most can imagine. They didn't succeed because they avoided failure. They succeeded because they embraced it, learned from it, and used it as fuel to push forward. Imagine if Thomas Edison had stopped after his first few failed attempts at inventing the light bulb. He didn't just fail once or twice. He failed thousands of times, but every single failure was a lesson. Every failed attempt brought him one step closer to success. He didn't see failure as a sign to stop. He saw it as the process of figuring out what didn't work so he could finally discover what did. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who give up is not talent, intelligence, or luck. It's the mindset toward failure. Some people experience failure and see it as proof that they are not good enough, that they should quit, that their dreams are too big. But others, the ones who go on to achieve incredible things, see failure as feedback, as an opportunity to improve. They understand that failure is a teacher, not an enemy. Walt Disney was fired from his first job because his boss said he lacked imagination. Imagine that. The man who built an empire of creativity and storytelling was told he wasn't creative enough. But did he let that be the end of his journey? No. He started his own company, and it failed. He went bankrupt. He struggled. But he kept going. And because he refused to see failure as the end, the world now knows his name. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, was cut from his high school basketball team. He could have let that failure define him. He could have given up. Instead, he used it as motivation. He worked harder, practiced longer, pushed himself beyond his limits. That failure wasn't the end of his basketball career. It was the beginning of his greatness. Every failure you experience is setting you up for something greater, but only if you choose to see it that way. If you let failure break you, if you let it convince you to quit, you'll never see the success that could have been yours. But if you use it, if you learn from it, if you let it shape you and strengthen you, then failure becomes the foundation of your success. The truth is, success doesn't happen without failure. Every great achievement is built on mistakes, setbacks, and struggles. The people who make it to the top are not the ones who had a smooth and easy path. They are the ones who fell down and got back up again and again. They understood that every failure was just another step closer to their goal. So when you face failure, don't see it as a reason to stop. See it as a reason to keep going. See it as proof that you are trying, learning, growing. The moment you shift your perspective and start treating failure as the beginning instead of the end, everything changes. Because failure isn't there to defeat you, it's there to prepare you for something greater. And those who understand this truth are the ones who turn their failures into fuel for success. Failure is often misunderstood. It is not the final chapter of your story, but rather the first page of a new one. The most successful individuals in history did not rise to greatness because they never failed. They rose because they refused to let failure define them. Instead of seeing failure as the end, they saw it as a lesson, a stepping stone, a challenge that pushed them forward. One of the greatest examples of this mindset is Abraham Lincoln. Before becoming one of the most respected presidents in American history, Lincoln faced repeated failures. He lost his job, failed in business, and suffered multiple defeats in his political career. He ran for office several times and lost. He even had a nervous breakdown. Most people would have given up, believing they were not meant for success. But Lincoln saw each failure as a lesson, a way to grow stronger and wiser. Eventually, he won the presidency and led the country through one of its most difficult times, the Civil War. His failures were not the end. They were the beginning of his greatness. Another powerful story comes from Thomas Edison, the man who revolutionized the world with the invention of the light bulb. Edison failed thousands of times before he finally succeeded. When asked about his repeated failures, he famously said, "I have not failed. I have just found 1,0,0,0,0 ways that won't work." That is the mindset of someone who understands that failure is never final. Each attempt, no matter how unsuccessful, was bringing him closer to his breakthrough. His persistence and resilience turned failure into progress, and his success changed the world forever. History also gives us the story of Henry Ford, who transformed the automobile industry. Before Ford built his empire, he had multiple failed business ventures. His first automobile company collapsed. His second attempt also ended in failure. But he didn't give up. He believed in his vision of making cars affordable for everyday people, and after years of setbacks, he finally succeeded. The Ford Motor Company changed the face of transportation forever. If Ford had accepted failure as the end, the world would never have known his name. Another striking example is Albert Einstein, widely considered one of the greatest minds in history. As a child, he struggled in school and was even thought to have learning disabilities. Teachers doubted his abilities, and he was rejected from several academic programs. But Einstein did not let those early failures stop him. He continued his work, challenged the limits of physics, and ultimately changed the way we understand the universe. His theories reshaped science, proving that failure is never the end, it is just part of the journey. Even in the realm of entertainment, failure has paved the way for success. Walt Disney was fired from his first job because his editor told him he lacked creativity. His first animation company went bankrupt. But instead of giving up, Disney kept pushing forward, refining his vision and learning from his mistakes. Today, his name is known worldwide. Failure is not a sign that you are not good enough. It is not proof that you should give up. It is simply a test, a challenge that asks you how badly you want success. The people who succeed are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who never stop moving forward. If you have experienced failure, know this: you are not alone. The greatest minds, the most successful leaders, the world's most influential figures, all of them have failed. The difference is they refused to let failure stop them. They used it, learned from it, and turned it into a tool for growth. Your failure is not the end of your journey, it is the beginning of something greater. It is the foundation on which success is built. The only way to truly fail is to stop trying. As history has shown time and time again, those who keep going despite failure are the ones who ultimately change the world. Life is full of setbacks, but setbacks are not signs of defeat, they are lessons in disguise. Every failure, every rejection, every obstacle is an opportunity to learn, grow, and come back stronger. Those who embrace this truth go on to achieve greatness, while those who see setbacks as permanent give up too soon. History is filled with individuals who turned their failures into stepping stones because they understood that every setback carries a lesson that can lead to success One of the greatest examples of learning from setbacks is Abraham Lincoln. Before he became the 16th President of the United States, he faced failure after failure. He lost his job, failed in business, and was defeated multiple times in his attempts to win public office. At one point, he even suffered a severe nervous breakdown. But instead of giving up, Lincoln learned from each failure. He refined his political strategies, improved his leadership skills, and developed the resilience that later allowed him to guide the nation through the Civil War. Without those early setbacks, he would not have become one of the most respected leaders in American history. Another powerful story comes from the world of invention. Thomas Edison, the man behind the light bulb, faced thousands of failed experiments before he finally succeeded. When asked about his repeated failures, he said, "I have not failed, I've just found 1,0,0,0,0 ways that won't work." That attitude is the essence of learning from setbacks. Edison didn't see failure as a reason to stop. He saw it as information. Every failed attempt taught him something new, bringing him closer to his goal. His persistence and ability to learn from each mistake changed the world forever. The business world offers another remarkable example in Henry Ford. Before founding Ford Motor Company, he failed multiple times. His first automobile business went bankrupt. His second attempt also failed. But instead of quitting, Ford analyzed what went wrong. He realized that mass production was the key to making cars affordable for everyday people. With that lesson in mind, he revolutionized the auto industry with the assembly line, making cars accessible to millions. If he had given up after his initial failures, the world would have been very different. Walt Disney, too, knew the sting of setbacks. Before he built his empire, he was fired from his first newspaper job because they said he lacked creativity. His first animation company went bankrupt, but Disney refused to let failure define him. Instead, he learned from each setback, improved his storytelling skills, and refined his business approach. Today, his name is synonymous with creativity and success, and his legacy continues to inspire millions. Even in the world of science, setbacks have led to breakthroughs. Albert Einstein was once told he would never amount to anything. He struggled in school and was even rejected from university. But instead of accepting failure, he used those rejections as motivation. He worked harder, studied deeper, and eventually developed the theory of relativity, changing the world of physics forever. His failures were not the end of his journey. They were the beginning of his brilliance. History proves that setbacks are not roadblocks, they are stepping stones. Every time life knocks you down, you have two choices: stay down or get up and learn. Those who succeed are not the ones who avoid failure, but the ones who embrace it, extract the lesson, and keep moving forward. Your setbacks are not there to break you. They are there to teach you, to shape you, to prepare you for what's next. If you can shift your perspective and see setbacks as lessons instead of defeats, nothing will be able to stop you. The key is to learn, adjust, and keep going. That's how success is built, one lesson at a time. Success is not about never failing. It's about failing more than others and still refusing to give up. The most successful people in history are not those who had a smooth path, but those who faced the most failures and kept moving forward. They understood that failure is not the opposite of success, it is a necessary part of it. Every setback, every rejection, and every mistake brought them closer to their goals, because they used their failures as fuel to improve, adapt, and try again. Take Thomas Edison, for example. His journey toward inventing the light bulb was anything but easy. He failed over 1,0,0,0,0 times before finally discovering the right combination of materials to make it work. Most people would have given up after a few failures, but Edison saw failure differently. He once said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,0,0,0,0 ways that won't work. This mindset is what separates those who succeed from those who quit. Each failure was a lesson, a step forward, a refinement of his approach. And because he was willing to fail more than others, he ultimately changed the world. Another powerful example is Abraham Lincoln. Before becoming one of the greatest presidents in U.S. history, Lincoln experienced repeated failures. He failed in business, lost multiple elections, and even suffered a severe nervous breakdown. Many would have seen these setbacks as signs to quit, but Lincoln learned from each failure and persisted. His resilience paid off when he was elected president and led the country through the Civil War, ultimately shaping the future of the United States. His success was built on a foundation of failure. Walt Disney's another example of someone who failed more than others before achieving greatness. Early in his career, he was fired from a newspaper job because his boss said he lacked creativity. His first animation company went bankrupt. But instead of giving up, Disney learned from his failures, refined his skills, and kept pushing forward. He eventually created the Disney Empire, a company that continues to inspire millions around the world. Had he feared failure, the world would never have known his name. In the world of sports, Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, openly admitted to failing more than most. He was cut from his high school basketball team, missed thousands of shots in his professional career, and lost many games. But he didn't see failure as a reason to stop. He saw it as a reason to work harder. In his own words, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." His failures became the foundation for his success, pushing him to train harder, improve his skills, and become a legend. Even in the world of business, Henry Ford experienced multiple failures before revolutionizing the automobile industry. His first two companies failed and he faced severe financial losses. But Ford didn't let failure stop him. He analyzed what went wrong, adjusted his approach, and eventually introduced the assembly line, making cars affordable for the average person. His failures taught him the lessons he needed to change the world. The reality is that successful people are not afraid of failure, they embrace it. They understand that the more they fail, the more they learn. Every failure is a step forward, a lesson, a necessary part of the journey. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent, intelligence, or luck. It's persistence. The willingness to fail more than others, to keep going despite setbacks, and to never let failure define them is what makes successful people unstoppable. If you want success, don't be afraid to fail. Fail fast, fail often, and learn from every single mistake. Because the more you fail, the closer you get to success. The way you think shapes everything in your life. Your mindset determines whether you rise after failure or stay down, whether you see obstacles as roadblocks or stepping stones. Every great achievement in history started with the right mindset. A belief that success was possible, no matter the difficulties. The people who changed the world weren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They were simply the ones who refused to let circumstances dictate their future. Take Thomas Edison, for example. Before he invented the light bulb, he failed over 1,000,000 times. Most people would have given up, believing they weren't meant for success. But Edison had a different mindset. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000,000 ways that won't work." That is the power of mindset. He didn't see failure as the end. He saw it as progress. And because he had the right mindset, he kept going until he succeeded. Another great example is Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years in prison, but he never allowed bitterness or defeat to take over his mind. Instead of seeing himself as a victim, he saw himself as a leader in the making. When he was finally released, he didn't seek revenge, he sought reconciliation. His mindset of peace and perseverance helped him end apartheid and bring South Africa together. Had he chosen anger or despair, history would have been very different. Even in business, mindset plays a crucial role. Henry Ford, the founder of Ford Motor Company, once said, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right." He understood that success starts in the mind. Before revolutionizing the automobile industry, Ford faced repeated failures. His first few companies failed, and investors lost confidence in him. But he didn't let that stop him. He believed in his vision and kept pushing forward. His mindset of resilience led him to create the assembly line, which made cars affordable for the masses. In sports, Michael Jordan is a prime example of how mindset determines success. As a young athlete, he was cut from his high school basketball team. Many would have taken that as a sign to quit, but Jordan used it as motivation. He trained harder, improved his skills, and developed a relentless mindset. Years later, he became one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He once said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed." His mindset of perseverance was the key to his greatness. Another historical figure who proved the power of mindset was Walt Disney. Early in his career, he was fired from a newspaper job because his boss said he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. His first animation company went bankrupt. Most people would have given up. But Disney had a mindset of belief and persistence. He kept going, learning from his failures, and eventually built an entertainment empire that continues to inspire millions. Even Albert Einstein, one of the greatest minds in history, faced difficulties early in life. He struggled in school, and many believed he would never achieve anything significant. But Einstein didn't let others' opinions define his future. He once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." His mindset of curiosity and creativity led him to develop theories that changed the world of science forever. These stories prove one thing. It's not circumstances, luck, or talent that determine success. It's mindset. A negative mindset will make every challenge seem impossible, but a strong mindset will turn obstacles into opportunities. The people who succeed are not the ones who avoid failure, but the ones who refuse to give up. If you want to change your life, start by changing your mindset. Believe that you can and you will. Failure is not the enemy of success. It is proof that you are in the game, pushing forward and refusing to settle for mediocrity. Those who never fail are usually the ones who never try. The greatest achievers in history did not avoid failure. They embraced it, learned from it, and used it as a stepping stone to reach their goals. If you are failing, it means you are moving forward, testing your limits and striving for something greater than the ordinary. Look at Thomas Edison, the man who gave the world the electric light bulb. He failed over 1,000,000 times before he finally succeeded. Most people would have quit after a handful of failed attempts, but Edison saw failure differently. When asked about his failures, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000,000 ways that won't work." Every failed experiment brought him closer to success. His relentless persistence and willingness to fail over and over again led to one of the most important inventions in history. Another example is Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. People see his championships and highlights, but they don't always see the failures behind the success. Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, which could have shattered his confidence. Instead, he used that failure as motivation to train harder. Throughout his career, he missed over 9,000 shots, lost nearly 300 games, and failed to make the game-winning shot 26 times. He didn't let failure define him, he let it fuel him. Jordan once said, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Walt Disney, the man who built an empire of imagination and creativity, was once fired from a newspaper job because his editor told him he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. His first animation company went bankrupt. He could have taken these failures as signs to give up, but he didn't. Instead, he kept pushing forward, refining his skills, and believing in his vision. Today, Disney is a name recognized worldwide, and his legacy continues to inspire generations. Even Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents in American history, faced repeated failures before reaching success. He failed in business, suffered personal losses, and was defeated in several elections. Many would have taken these failures as signs that they were not meant for leadership. But Lincoln didn't let failure stop him. He learned from his setbacks, adjusted his approach, and kept moving forward. His persistence led him to become a leader who changed the course of history. J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, faced rejection from 12 different publishers before her book was finally accepted. She was a single mother, struggling financially, but she didn't give up on her dream. If she had let failure stop her, the world would have never known the magic of Harry Potter. Today, she is one of the best-sellered authors of all time, all because she refused to let rejection define her. The pattern is clear. Those who achieve great things are not the ones who avoid failure, but the ones who embrace it. Every failure is proof that you are trying, that you are moving forward, and that you are learning. The only real failure is quitting. If you have failed, it means you are on the path to success. Keep going, keep learning, and keep trying. Failure is not the end. It is the beginning of something greater.